Guys, you want to check out this episode. Master breathwork, brother, facilitator, Christopher August, who literally has mastered the art of breath. And I always say this, if you want to master one thing in life, master your breath, because the mind will follow the breath or the breath will follow the mind. If you master your breath, you'll master your mind. If you master your mind, you'll master your hologram and your universe, because the universe is mental. So in this episode, Christopher August dives deep into sympathetic breathwork, how to clear trauma with breathwork. He talks about breathing and plant medicine, cannabis and breath combined. He talks about his hero journey and the pivotal moments that he had to make to be living his dream life right now. We talk about other parasympathetic, how to calm down with the breath. And most importantly, we talk about developing a daily breathwork practice. So this episode with Master Breathwork Facilitator Christopher August is all about the breath. You don't want to miss it. Check it out. If you haven't heard yet, peptides work. And it's taken me a while to really believe this, but I know it to be true now. I've witnessed so many people's lives being changed and shifted by peptides. There's 15 years of research, that I've spoken to experts that show that peptides work. But most importantly, I'm an experiential psychiatrist. And so I tried the peptides personally for myself. And I'm not talking about research peptides from China. I'm talking about real, straight made in USA from a compounding shop pharmacy, pure peptides, which are short chain amino acids. They're like little light signals in the body. And when you inject them orally or you take them through an insulin needle, it literally turns on certain pathways in your body to produce more energy, all different types of things. You can lose weight with it. You can build muscle with it. You can anti-age with it. You can grow hair with it. There's so many different pathways that peptides can turn on in the body. So I am officially a firm believer, and that's why we started limitlesslivingmd.com, which sponsors this podcast episode. And so peptides, literally, no matter what you're trying to do in your life, health is your greatest wealth. And there's a reason why the FDA tried to ban peptides, and the reason why RFK said the first thing he's going to do when he gets into office is legalize peptides, because they work. They can help with all different types of health conditions. And we have at limitlesslivingmd.com created a company. We want to make these affordable for everyone. Pure pharmaceutical peptides delivered straight. You can order it straight from your home. And if you don't know where to begin, we're offering a special free 15-minute consult with a peptide coaching expert who can literally get you on the right peptide, but most importantly, the right dosing. That's really important. There's a lot of people right now being overdosed on certain peptides. So the right peptide, the right dose, ordered from your home, delivered straight to your home within 3 to 5 days with everything you need to get started on the peptides. A lot of these other companies aren't giving you everything you need, and there's clear educational material on how to get started. So if this is you, you're curious about peptides, you feel called to experiment with peptides and get into your best physical health shape, there's a QR code that I've been talking on. Click that QR code, or in the links below, click that QR code for a free 15-minute consult with a healthcare peptide expert who can help you figure out which peptide is best for you, what dose to get started on, and within 3 to 5 days, if that's the route you decide to go, it can be delivered straight to your house. So I'm really excited about the magic of peptides and helping people with peptides, because it's been helping me, and I know that it can help you. So check it out, limitlesslivingmd.com. Use the code Dr. Lee, DRLEE, for 15% off. New global paradigm of mental health. Let's go. What's up, beautiful souls? Welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Psychiatrist Podcast. Today we got a special guest, my brother Christopher August. He's been delving into holistic wellness. 15 years. They say 10 years is, the 10-year rule, 1,000 hours, 10,000 hours, you become an expert. So he's been going at this for 15 years, putting in his time, his love, and his energy. And I've gotten to connect with Chris, and he's a beautiful brother, and he's doing some really beautiful work. But one thing that I love that he's doing is he's working with breath. And if there's literally one thing I recommend mastering in this lifetime, is your breath. Because if you master your breath, you'll master your mind. If you master your mind, you'll master the universe because the universe is mental. So Chris has put together Beats and Breath, which is a cool app which gets people into different breathwork states. He's written a book, and he's doing a breathe with cannabis, combining breath and cannabis, which is a powerful combination. But overall, he's just an ancient, beautiful brother soul. So welcome to the podcast, brother.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. And yeah, much love to you as well, brother. I know you've also been diving into this realm for quite some time. And so a lot of respect to you and what you're doing.
Appreciate it, brother. Yeah, man, I'm a firm believer. I see what you're up to now, but like, that along the hero's journey, there are specific kind of moments, hero moments that happen where you have to choose, and kind of defining moments where you choose love and you choose courage. And so, in this lifetime, Chris, what has kind of been your hero's journey, which has led you into the path of sharing the power of breath with so many people?
Yeah, it's a great question. I could probably highlight many moments, but really there was a significant turning point for me back in 2011, 2012. I was finishing my master's degree. I was working at a tech firm. I was climbing the corporate ladder, doing all of the things that I thought were, the right thing to do in order to find success and happiness. And of course, we all know how that turns out. So, during that time, there was a lot of internal pressure on me to succeed and to really prove my worth in a way. And so I thought by having the money, by getting this position at this company, that would all come. But I soon found myself in a place of just feeling empty and feeling discouraged, unfulfilled, unsatisfied. And so I prayed, and really spoke deeply to my higher self, to source, to God, and show me the way. What way am I supposed to be living my life? Because the parties, they're great, they're a lot of fun, but I'm really tired of this lifestyle and I want something different. And so many months went by, and I'm driving home on the highway one day, and I see a sign right in the corner of my eye, and it says, "Are you ready to answer the call?" And in the bottom right hand corner it said, "Sponsored by the Peace Corps." So I went home and I Googled what's the Peace Corps. I didn't know what it was at the time. And for anybody listening, the Peace Corps is a American governmental organization that sends volunteers all over the world, 80 plus countries, and to basically immerse themselves in these different communities. And so this was extremely intriguing to me because it fulfilled these values of deepening into adventure, into discovering more of myself, of helping people, of making a difference. And so I applied. And I ended up getting in about a year and a half later after a rigorous amount of testing mentally, physically. And I got a letter in the mail and it says, "Dear Christopher, you have 7 days to decide. You have been accepted to Tanzania, Africa for a 27-month service as a health and business volunteer." So that was the start. And right in that moment when I committed and said yes, several months later, I was boarding a plane to Tanzania, Africa from Buffalo, New York, 8,000 miles away from home. And for the next 2 years, I would live in the villages of Tanzania, serving this community, living amongst them, building relationships, not only to them, but also deepening the relationship to myself. So that was the first massive step. And there was many initiations and catalysts, one in which I wrote about in my book in the first chapter, where about halfway through my service I found myself on a whitewater rafting trip in the Zambezi River, and I fell out on a class 5 rapid. I got caught under a rock, and
Mm.
I started to basically drown and lose consciousness, and my body became lifeless. And in this moment, there was a lot of struggle. There was a lot of intensity of the tumultuous waves. But then there became this peace as I surrendered to essentially losing my life and having this near death drowning experience. I was ultimately pulled out of the water and saved. And I remember the pumping on my chest, getting the water out. And as I felt these sensations, I began to come back into my body. And I looked up at the canyon, and all I saw was this blue sky. And I took my first deep breath, which was almost like being born again. And in that moment, I was told that this is part of your mission. A big part of your mission is to share the medicine of breath with the world. So that's the short version, but that was the
Mm.
initiations that took place back in 2012, 2013.
Yeah, I love that, man. It's really cool to hear how your journey with breath got started there. And there's that crucial moment I feel like in the hero's journey where everybody has this choice. They're like going through a path, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, whatever, and it's like societal programming, which promises you at the end of it, whatever it is society promises you, and like you can feel it's not in your soul alignment. And there's this pivotal moment of courage where you choose, man, I'm going to Tanzania, Africa for 27 months, although it does not make sense according to everything that I've been programmed to believe is important in the matrix. And that crucial moment where I quit my job as a psychiatrist with 300,000 in medical school loans, and you follow the path of your soul, and that crucial moment on the hero's journey, which you took that leap and you went to Tanzania, and while there, I really love that, man, because there's this moment where you literally almost lost your life because of a lack of breath. And literally the moment pump, pump, pump on your heart, and you take that first breath and you see the blue sky and you hear the message. This is what a big part of what your mission is going to be. And, that was years ago, and you've been doing that. And so tell me a little bit more about your relationship with breath and why you've committed a significant portion of your mission in this lifetime to helping people with the power of breath. Talk to me about the breath.
Yeah, brother. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And yeah, for me, in that moment, in that pocket of time, right? Connecting to source and connecting to all there is. And in this very moment where I was seated to remember my mission here on earth, right? It was this ancient remembrance. And, as time went on, as I emerged from that experience, I was given these different tools to start working with. One of the first tools and technologies was Kundalini Yoga. Serendipitously, I was given a thumb drive by another Peace Corps volunteer after I'd come back from that experience and say, "Hey, I think you should try this. It's a really cool practice." And so I started to dive into Kundalini. And in that experience over that year of practicing Kundalini, a big pillar within the Kundalini yoga experience is breath, and working with fast paced breath of fire rhythms to activate and to rise that Kundalini from within. And so I had these profound experiences. And the more that I began to dive deeper, the more remembrance I started to have. I started to have flashbacks to these past life visions. One in particular, in which has surfaced many times over the years, of me in a group of men around a fire. It felt like native times, and me leading these men into the power of their breath before we're about to go into a very crucial moment, right? And whether that's in protectorship of the village or connecting deeper with our spirit and ourself, that technology of breath has transcended, many times throughout this millennia. It's been spoken about, in ancient Egypt and ancient Greece and shamanic cultures and Chinese cultures and so forth. And so the more I dove deeper, the more I began to realize that breath is not just a tool for survival, it's a gateway to personal and spiritual freedom. And as I began to have these deeper experiences within myself, my whole entire life started to expand in ways that I could have never imagined. First and foremost, many of the repressed emotions and suppressed energy, the imprints that I was carrying within myself, had to be seen, had to be shown, and come through the surface. And that breath, right, is it's that moving that life force energy to trigger the spontaneous awakenings and experiences in which we begin to see the innermost part of ourselves. And so as this began to happen, I had to confront a lot of things that I didn't want to face, right? And a lot of shadows and different things within myself that maybe were difficult, but all needed to come up for that to be transmuted and to be transformed, and ultimately leading to a greater sense of aliveness, of purpose, of just vitality in general. And so, my journey has taken me through many different realms, certifications, all leading me now to this point of being able to share and teach and facilitate for thousands of people around the world.
Yeah. And, as a psychiatrist, I've been like listening to people for like, kind of like for a living for a long time. And when someone starts to talk and speak about their passion, something, a little tone, a little rhythm, there's like something that I can hear, like, oh, they're talking about their passion. And so it's cool to hear that like this was a past life kind of passion and mission and practice, which you were leading warriors into the breath before battle and different things in the village. And it's carried on over to this life and in the way that it woke up in this lifetime. And now you're doing exactly what your passion is. And that's something beautiful when you wake up every morning and you're aligned with your passion and your mission. And with that being said, I loved your riff there because it's like, I think there's the majority of the population has never been educated to the fact that breath is not just something you do to stay alive. And you touched on points this, you can literally reverse polarized karma, and trauma lives in the body as polarized frequency. And with prolonged breathwork sessions, guided breathwork sessions, it can spontaneously start to transmute, release, and these memories and this karma and trauma which lives in the body, which is not everybody's fault per se, because 7 to 14 generations of this trauma and karma were literally passed on when that sperm and that egg met, and they live in the body. And these major traumas can be released, cleansed, transmuted through the power of breath work, not to mention some of the other things we'll dive into with the power of the breath. Can you talk to me a little bit about how to cleanse trauma from the body through the power of the breath? What are some of your favorite ways to do that, and in wisdom kind of for people out there who are like, man, I feel like I've got to cleanse this trauma out of my body?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to share on that. And something that, I touch upon in my book. There's a whole chapter on healing and releasing trauma from the body. And really, the somatic lens, which I know we've jammed on and talked about in the past, right? Everything is through the lens of the body because that's where all the wisdom is held. And so I've created a sort of hack in a way when I work with clients or I'm working in groups of people, sharing a practice in which we can begin to access the deeper memories that are buried within, right? And really the first part is just somatic tracking. It's going within, scanning the body. And if I ask someone, where do you feel on a general basis, where do you feel tension or tightness or constriction or resistance in your body? Some people might say, oh, in my heart. Some people might say my solar plexus and my hips, various different parts of the body. Wherever that tightness or tension is, that's a good signal that that's the place we need to go to first, because it's showing us, our body is showing us we are holding some level of energetic and emotional imprint in that space. So once we identify that, we take it a little bit deeper, right? We use the breath as a tool to go into that area and to begin to expand and illuminate what is present in that space. And once we go there, we might identify, and I might ask people, what color do you see? Is it a dark? Is it a light energy? What's the color? What's the texture? What's the temperature? What are some of the sensations that you're feeling in this area? Some people might say, oh, it's like a shooting pain, or it's like a dull sensation, or it's a heaviness, and it might be a cold energy that's been there for a long time. We start to get curious and use part of the imagination as well as the body to access what is being stored there. And then once we get to that part, which is sort of the second step of identifying the texture, the color, sensations, we get into what emotion is present there. Some people might say, oh, I feel some fear, I feel some anger, I feel some grief or some sadness. Wonderful. Now the emotions are these divine messengers that are here to show us exactly what we've been holding on to. And what I've found personally, and maybe you've found the same, and I'd love to hear this, is generally underneath the emotion is a core imprint or a core wound, right? Where many of us have experienced different levels of rejection or abandonment, betrayal, shame, guilt. Any of these frequencies can lay within the body temple in this way. And then we begin to use the breath to dive deeper, to begin to uproot the energy, not from a place of force, but using the breath as a place of safety, as an anchor for us to drop deeper into the depth of facing whatever this is head on. Because as you know, as many people listening to this, is that we need to feel it in order to heal it. And within the feeling state of that, of going into it, we begin to reveal and unveil the wisdom that is underneath that, that is available to us, that gold, the gifts that are there, the opportunities that are there for us in that very moment. And we begin to see it's not as scary as we thought it was, but it does take some courage to get beyond the layers of tension and tightness that have been there for so many years. And, I can say firsthand of doing this work myself and going within these spaces, being guided within these spaces, there's things that come up. I mean, I went through, many months of grief and not understanding what that grief was, what I was actually grieving. But what I come to realize is that it's not, I don't need to know the why. I just need to accept it for what it is and allow it to be processed and come up in the way that it wants to be expressed, whether that's through crying, laughing, shaking, yelling, yawning. There's different manifestations in how we release this energy and how it wants to come out through the body temple. So I'll pause there, but that's kind of a little small process that I take people through.
Yeah, and I like that we're coming back to, the body, the somatic awareness, whether we're aware of it or not, the body keeps the score from past lives into this life, into our parents' cultural trauma, the parental trauma, literally personal trauma from this life and past lives. And it's a continuation of life through simultaneous lives. And when we come into this body, this holy temple, this vessel, this spaceship, this Merkaba, literally somewhere in the body. So I appreciate the fact that you locate where it is. And that also leads me to understanding like this natural trust. And the setting is trust yourself to locate and to intuitively feel where it is. And once you feel it, once you put awareness on something, it's not in the shadow anymore. Shadow just means there's no light, there's no awareness on it. So we locate it. And the approach towards it from the D1 physical body using a higher energy frequency, prana, which is literally like a joule of energy, which is life force energy, which is a higher frequency, because usually these karmas and traumas are not bad. It's just dense, just dense. And so using the ability to kind of come to it with a frequency of non-judgment and awareness, and then literally surround it with the power of the breath. And you said you got what we reveal, we feel, we heal. And then from the D1 physical vessel, you're taking that into the D2 emotional body to feel it. And sometimes it will reveal where it's from, the why of where it's from. Sometimes it will not. Sometimes it'll just spontaneously release, and giving up that desire to, I have to know why. No, letting go of the mental D3 body and just being with the feeling body of what it is. And then I also appreciate the fact, like the way that it comes out is unique. It can come out through shaking, through screaming, through crying, through laughing, through shitting, through sweating, whatever way. It's all a healthy purge. And then we're really literally cleaning the vessel to become who we really are, without the trauma, without the karma, which literally leads in the body. And when we cleanse the temple, the body, then it gives more space for something new to manifest. Something must first de-manifest, and that is, the power of the space that is created through this, for more of the soul to be able to embody. And I think you talked about an expansion of the energy, because the soul is a lighter frequency, and we're just becoming more of who we really are. And Chris, can you talk to me a little bit about these, like sometimes 45-minute to 60-minute prolonged breathwork sessions? Some people in the back in the day, Stan Groff was doing like holotropic. I was trained in transformational, and sometimes these long, prolonged kind of shamanic breathwork sessions. Your experience there, and any wisdom coming through on those?
Yeah, absolutely. For anybody listening to this that, perhaps has done breath work or hasn't done breath work, right? And there's so many different ways we can approach this. And so what you're speaking to and the holotropic, the transformational breathing, this is what I would deem to be like sympathetic breathing, right? It's activational. It's really pumping
Mm.
the energy. We're in a fast-paced breath rhythm. Generally, we're in and out of the mouth, so we're creating some hyperventilation and it's starting to move a lot of energy. It's a really fast way into trauma and into also psychoactive type of states. And with those types of experiences, I would say one, it's great to work with someone that really understands that space, especially if you haven't done that before. But in those spaces, a lot can really come up. And number one is that sort of healing part, the healing and releasing. Once we begin to heal and release, that's when the expansion can happen. And as you alluded to, the soul frequency starting to come down and to anchor themselves within the body. And within those states, that's why we often have these expanded experiences of consciousness where we're accessing these different visual states, right? The DMT is beginning to secrete within the body, and we're beginning, and where's the storehouse of DMT? The biggest storehouse is in the lungs, right? And so as we're breathing, that is going up into the third ventricle, in to the pineal gland, creating the experiences of these psychedelic states where we can begin to access different visions and begin to bring forth higher dimensions of wisdom. And so I'm a huge proponent of that style of breathing. But like I always tell people, like, those sessions, they can be quite intense, and it's not to be sugarcoated. There's a lot that can come up in that, and I know you know this very well. And so working with someone that really understands this space, just like if you're working with a guide going through a plant medicine journey, right? The breath, just similar to any different psychotropic plants that we work with, it has its own consciousness and it knows exactly where to go within the body to create these experiences and the experience that you need. And that's why anytime I lead a breathwork session, whatever it is, I always tell people the number one thing that you can do is to, just like in plant medicine, do your best to surrender and let go to the experience, because the breath is extremely wise and knows exactly where to guide you for your own perfect wisdom to be revealed.
What's up, beautiful souls? The rapid 12-strand DNA activation. Activate your inner Christos. Activate your 12-stranded DNA. All of the techniques have been split up into bite-sized chunks with homework reading assignments to help you understand the eternal life wisdom. And we've literally put this online in the Eternal Life Tribe community on School. So you're not only going to get the rapid 12-strand DNA program, and we're having people have massive shifts through this program, literally aligning you to your highest timeline, eventually aligning you to your highest spiritual destiny. And it's all online in the Eternal Life Tribe community on School. We just won the School games, which means for category self-improvement, we've been, how can I say, we won the month. We had the most signups. And then not only that, our churn rate, people signing, like stopping the program and leaving, is super low compared to the normal average. So there's something that's happening on the tribe in the School program that is working, that is shifting lives. Not only that, though, you're going to get bi-weekly live Q&As with me, which means that sometimes the eternal life wisdom, it's a lot. It's a lot of wisdom. It blows away your paradigms. You have questions. I'm going to be there 2 times a month to answer all of your questions, to make sure that you have the accurate information to begin remembering your 12-stranded DNA, your avatar Christos self. We also have free guided meditations. And one of the most exciting things is once every month or two, we do powerful online breathwork sessions at home, and people are shifting, people are remembering. And once you remember and you shift yourself, then you start activating for Mother Earth. And that's starting to happen. We're starting to heal Mother Earth. So Check it out. Everything that I've ever learned is 10 plus years working as a psychiatrist. All my favorite supplements, everything is on there. Literally the school online community, Eternal Life Tribe. Click the link below, or we'll also send you a QR code to the school community. And if that's on the screen right now, you can click the QR code, check it out. Eternal Life Tribe, school community. And I hope to see you on the Eternal Life Tribe. Yeah, and so these sympathetic breathwork sessions, and I like that you mentioned it twice. A lot can come up, including DMT release from the lungs, including release from the third eye, the pineal gland, and then kind of take you into a psychedelic, almost visionary state, and like to work with someone that you really trust who can guide you through it, and then also to hold you through it, and then to also help you integrate after, because it is almost like a blowing someone open in a way. And but these are powerful ways that I found to actually be able to cleanse the trauma, the major trauma, the big trauma, like the big stuff out of the body. And I appreciate that you said that the breath is conscious, it's intelligent, it knows where to go. And this life force energy, the more I can get out of my way and just allow the breath to do the magic that it does, it's very intelligent, understands what door one is, where to go in, what to release first, what to activate second. And that's the power and beauty of the breath. Yeah, Chris, can you talk to me a little bit more about just kind of your relationship with breath, how you started with Kundalini, how that's evolved, and any practical breathwork suggestions for someone out there who might be listening, who this is kind of like relatively new for them, and just kind of walk me through your personal journey with the breath, and any practical kind of tips for anybody listening out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to. Yeah, so again, kind of going, backwards a little bit. My journey started with Kundalini. I got back from Africa, I got back from the Peace Corps, and this was just the whole really a book of wisdom opened up to me during this
Mm.
time in Tanzania. And so, okay, what do I do with this, right? I know that I'm here to spread this, to share this, but first and foremost, for me, anything that I do, anything that I share, even until today, it must be integrated, it must be embodied, and something that I deeply care about the well being of others, because there's a lot of people out there I see on the internet and all over that are sharing these different things but aren't actually walking the talk. So for me, it's all about the practicum, the practice of it. So I started to enroll in different breathwork trainings, rebirthing breathwork, soma breath, all these different trainings, and really beginning to explore the science and metaphysics of breath on a deep level. And then from there, organically things started to evolve where I began to tap into my own visions and how I want to share this medicine with others, right? So I break it down like this in the simple way, like I did earlier when we were talking about transformational breathwork. That's sympathetic breathing. And then the other state would be parasympathetic breathing, relating to our nervous system. Parasympathetic, relaxed, centered, calm, focused. Sympathetic, it's more activated, energetic, right? And we're in that sort of fight or flight state, and we can be in a healthy way. But for me, I was like, okay, how can I make this medicine, how can I make this tool ultra accessible to people? And so in 2020, I met my business partner, Johnny Buffalo, who we've created now our company Beats and Breath. And we created a modality we called sonic breathwork, which essentially blends together the primordial powers of breath and sound to create transformation. And what I found is you generally, for someone that's doing breath work every day, you don't need to get into those 1-1-2-2 breaths, very activational every day. You can get into an even, coherent 4-4 rhythm, 5-5 rhythms, and really see profound benefits and even cleanse, clear trauma, expand into higher states of consciousness. And so we created basically these ancient rhythmic breathing techniques paired with cutting edge musical compositions to help get this work into the hands of the mainstream and make it accessible, because you got trap and hip hop beats mixed with binaurals and solfeggio frequencies that are doing the subtle work on the mind and the body, as well as the breath mixed into it, which creates a really like cool and fun experience. And so, over the years, I've been able to witness and see profound transformations in individuals from experiencing past lives to being visited by ancestors, to clearing massive blocks and barriers that they've been struggling with, to discovering their higher purpose and mission, connecting deeper to their soul's essence. These are all, greater clarity, focus. All of these things are benefits of having a daily breathing practice, and something that, when we engage with our breath intentionally and consciously, even 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, a small percentage of our day directed towards conscious breathing, deep breathing, can make a world of a difference in our daily lives, where the stress levels come down, we become more connected and more present. And that's when the voice of the soul and our intuition begin to come online, because we're slowed down. The brain waves go from beta to theta to alpha, and we can begin to access all of what's already there within us, but we're missing it because we're so busy in the day-to-day responsibility. So, it's a great tool for that connection point to our soul, and to be able to access that hidden wisdom that's been there all along.
I hope. Yeah, and just piggybacking off of that, you were talking about the practice of breath. And those three words are, I think, for anybody listening out there, like, it's important to realize nobody actually taught us how to breathe. And when you look at a baby, like, they just know. Their belly goes up, and then their chest goes up, and then the belly goes up and goes up, and then like the nose breathing, right? There's books on this about why for most breaths it's good to nose breathe, and when you're sleeping to nose breathe, right? And it's this art, and there's so many intricacies that you're talking about. You can literally cleanse the vessel with it. You can calm down with it. You can activate through it. You could release DMT with it. You could go on psychedelic journeys with it. You can you literally be in the middle of a war zone and be 100% calm and regulated. You could connect with your soul through it. So it's limitless what we can do with our breath. But it's funny that it's the first thing we do when we're born, the last thing we do when we die. And nobody ever takes time to actually teach us how to get into these different breath states, or how to calm down, or school doesn't teach it. Nobody teaches it. And so I appreciate the fact that you mentioned developing a daily breathwork practice, intentionally learning and practicing the art of breath, because it is an art. And if you master your breath, you will master your mind. The mind will follow the breath, or the breath will follow the mind. So 99% of all psychiatric conditions are people who don't know how to breathe, who are stuck in their mind, literally. And the moment that we learn how to breathe, and we come down and we learn how to regulate, and we drop into, like you said, alpha, then the mind starts dropping quiet. And then, as you said, we drop into the present moment, where there is no anxiety or depression in the present moment, because I'm just present. I'm not in the past. Past anxiety, future anxiety, a potential that hasn't even happened yet. And I'm not in the past thinking about things that I regret and dropping me into the frequency of the present. No, I'm here right now. And that's the power of the breath. But nobody has taught us. So I'm grateful for people like you who are creating Beats and Breath, an app on your phone. Go download it, which will literally guide you with modern music, which is attuned, right? The ear is attuned with solfeggio frequencies, and the ability and blending ancient wisdom into this. And Chris's voice carries codes too. So you're going to be receiving all of these different things. And even just 15 to 20 minutes every single day will make a difference. I don't know if people like really are registering that 15 to 20 minutes will make your day significantly better if you develop a 15 to 20 minute practice in the morning. And there's this app out there which has been developed called Beats and Breath. So check it out. It will literally alter the frequency that you start your day with, and get you into that state so you can develop momentum for your day. So developing a daily breathwork practice shift my entire life. And eventually, if you continue to do it for a more and more longer periods of time, consistency, it's going to shift your, not only your day, your life, but your destiny. And that's the power of our breath. But nobody teaches us how to breathe. So, it's good to develop a daily practice. Now, we talked about these explosive 45 to 50-minute breathwork sessions, sympathetically charged. Chris, can you talk to us a little bit about parasympathetic breathwork, the art of parasympathetic breathing, and share with us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, what I find, and I'm sure you would agree with this, is the world that we live in, right? It's increasingly chaotic, right? It's increasingly noisy. All of the different distractions we have, from social media to the different technology to our daily schedules, and time just it feels as if it's accelerating. And so we're caught in this sort of whirlwind. And even if we're not in our daily life, it's in this like collective hive mind that we're living,
Mm,
right? Where we're in the experience of just feeling chaotic inside. And so naturally, because of, first and foremost, the trauma imprints that we're carrying within us, whether from this life or past lives, this is creating us and creating an experience in which we are living in a fight or flight daily experience where our cortisol levels are jacked up, our adrenaline is high, it's running very high, and we're in a very overwhelmed, anxious, and stressed out state. And what happens is when we are not conscious of our breathing, right? Especially in the impact of trauma, for example, once an imprint happens, we go into a fight or flight response. From there, our breathing becomes altered. We go into chest breathing. We're breathing fast or we're holding our breath. Then what happens is we get stuck in these patterns and get locked into a chronic, shallow, shortened breath pattern over time. And this exacerbates the existing stress, overwhelm, and anxiety that's already present within us. And so the parasympathetic breathing, which I mentioned is more of a slower 4-4, 4-8 rhythms, those types of rhythms of breath, it slows us down, right? And so once it slows us down, again, it opens and expands us to begin to receive more beyond the stressed out, noisy, and chaotic state that we're existing in every single moment of our life. And to take it one step further, is that when we're relaxed and when we become present, when we drop into our imagination, which is the seed of creation, which we begin to see and form our dreams, our visions, our desires, our intentions, and we begin to see this in real time, and we're in this relaxed state, that's when worlds begin to open. And that's why I actually just recorded a video on this. The missing link in manifestation is the breath. Because when you're in that coherent, relaxed state, that's when you can open up the seed of creation and begin to seed your hologram with the life that you want to live. And that is a conscious choice as the creator of your reality, using the power of your breath and slowing yourself down to open up to higher frequencies that are available to you.
yeah. Relaxation is who we are. Tension is who we think we should be. And when we slow down our breath and the exhale is 2 times as long, in for 4, out for 8, then literally the mind brainwaves start dropping and the parasympathetic nervous system activates when the exhale is 2 times as long, which is a signal to the body that, hey, I'm safe. And then the muscles start relaxing, and then especially the brainwaves start relaxing, dropping from beta. And that's usually like 90 something percent of society, as you were saying, is probably stuck in beta. LA traffic, on the go. I have
Yeah.
to, I need to, I have to accomplish this. And literally, as you mentioned, the cortisol overload, the adrenals get burnt out over a long period of time, drinking coffee, barely getting by. I have to, and in this rush sympathetic state, you know, literally, eventually, that's going to lead to stress, and that's going to lead to, disease. But what you're sharing with us is there's parasympathetic breathing, as you mentioned, 4-4, 4-8. And for me, I tried this out when I first started breathing. I was a LA party boy. I had just woken up and I was like, okay, I was in like these environments of like party and lights and all different types of energies, and everywhere I would drive for some reason, like on the way to Trader Joe's, on the way to whatever it was, I just started practicing one breath. Because I heard the message from someone like you, like, hey, if you master your breath, you'll master your mind. So I was like, okay, let me try this out. So I just kept doing in for 4, hold for 7, out for 8. And I would like religiously almost like I was in line, I was like waiting, I was driving, I started doing this breath. And eventually it started to work. Exactly what you said. I started to come into the present moment. My brainwaves slowed down. And in that state, when I'm just present, every potential possibility of every meeting that I have in every timeline is wide open. And because I'm relaxed enough, not thinking I have to, my higher self can drop in downloads. And it's not a thought, it's like a direct cognitive knowing, which literally my higher self can't lead me astray. It only has my highest evolutionary potential in mind. So I'd literally be at a club in downtown LA, so calm in the middle of the noise, and I would hear, it's not a voice, but I would hear there's someone upstairs you need to meet. And I'll be like, go upstairs there. Yep, there they are. Right. And that's what Chris is talking about. Receptivity is the first step of enlightenment. It's the first step of showing trust and safety to your body. And then when you are in that state, it's the first step. Well, I mean, the prerequisite almost for real manifestation and materialization on the physical plane. And you can do it quicker. Yes, if you're grinding and I have to, and I'm in sympathetic, you're fighting against the 3D. You're fighting against the matrix. You're fighting against space and time and matter. Eventually, yes, you can get there doing it 3D to 3D and sympathetic push, but it's probably going to take a lot longer than if we learned how to drop into parasympathetic and allowed our superconscious higher self to begin to lead us through the quantum field. Then the manifestation and materialization can happen much quicker. And then also, more importantly, safety is the prerequisite for healing. So the breath can signal to my body to drop into parasympathetic, which signals that I'm safe, which then opens up the portals and gateway for any potential timeline to occur. Yeah. And so, Chris, I'm curious, man, tell us a little bit more about Breathe with Cannabis.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're combining a plant now with breath, which is cool. Like I used that was one of my favorite things after work when I found the power of the breath. I would take a small little cannabis, go straight to the yoga studio, and I would go at that stage. I had so much amazing memory from that stage. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, brother. Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to just reflect and share like everything you just shared there in that last segment is really powerful because not only the synthesizing all of that wisdom and information, but also relating it to everyday life, right? Being in the line in the grocery store, being in LA traffic, these are opportunities to use a free tool that's always available to us. So I just wanted to kind of stamp that and really drive that
Mm.
point home because for anybody listening to this, you can access this anywhere. You don't have to go into a full-on breathwork session while you're driving. I wouldn't recommend that, but just a few conscious breaths doing that instead of getting impatient, instead of reacting and getting into these states of anger and frustration, you're already there. Do it. Change your life just through that. Just by doing that once or twice a day, man, that's a massive game changer. So I
Mm.
just wanted to piggyback off that. Um, yeah, breathe with cannabis. So this was born a couple years ago. I mean, it's been in the making for a while. Naturally, in my everyday life, I'm practicing conscious breathing and breath work sober. But many years ago in 2015, 2016, I've been using cannabis probably off and on since I've been 13 years old. I'm 38 now. So it's
Mhm.
been a long relationship with the plant and many times unhealthy. I was never an everyday smoker or a daily user, but when you're younger, you're fucking around and you're just finding out stuff, right? And so doing
Mhm.
elevators and crazy bong rips in my friend's garage and doing all of these things as a kid, as a teenager, and exploring what these different plant medicines are. Until later on in life, 10 years ago, started to bring some intention to the plant. And when I began to use cannabis specifically and all other plant medicines with intention, of course, that's what opens up the doorway to really access greater states of awareness. And so for me, cannabis has been a beautiful teacher in the sense that it's a beautiful somatic medicine where it takes me deep into the body, especially if I'm using heavy indicas, and guiding me to the places where I'm blocked or there's some energy that needs to be moved, right? So, somatic awareness, shadow work, unbelievable medicine for shadow work,
Mm,
bringing you into the points and places within yourself that are still not being fully illuminated by that light, and things that really need to be seen and heard and felt. And so I started to then practice and pair this with breath work. And several years later, I met my good friend Ryan Sprague, who I think you know him. And Ryan, who is a cannabis expert and working in this field for a long time, we started to create this project called Breathe with Cannabis, where taking people on these transformational journeys where, people have reported they've been going to therapy for talk therapy for 10, 15 years, and in one session they're shifting trauma and shifting states. And so we started to see how these medicines paired together, the somatic process of taking you into the body through cannabis and then deepening that with the breath and then releasing that energy, it just created this beautiful fusion of transformation. And we've been doing these workshops and these programs with people and just having profound results. And so I'm a big proponent, but of course, I'm also one of those people who always say you don't need the cannabis. The breath will get you there. You don't need all the plant medicines. The breath will get you there. But if you want an acceleration and if you want to shift the state pretty quick, these tools can be really helpful when used in an intentional and purposeful way.
yeah, absolutely. Oh man, me and cannabis have been through every. It sounds like you have too. Every stage of a relationship. But I appreciate that you touched on. It's actually when used with intention, it's a gateway to consciousness. The plant wants to open up. It wants to help humanity, and it can, and it's neutral for the most part, but the intention that we bring to it especially can, as you mentioned, take us into the body, the somatics, and then also with shadow work. And there was a time when, man, when I started smoking for a period, it was taking me all the way into the shadow. And so for people who, but I really appreciate that you said you don't need it. You don't need anything outside of yourself, but it can be an acceleration if used in the right setting and intention. And then when you pair it with the power of the breath, it sounds like a really potent synergistic blend. And not to mention, shout out Ryan, who I know, from what I hear, I've never experienced it, but from what I hear is growing the plant, and that's important too. The way that you grow the plant, you talk to the plant, the soil that you use, the sunlight that you use, the intention behind the plant, the music you play, all of that matters. And so, yeah, if you're in the area, are you guys doing these events in Austin, or where would people go to experience Breathe with Cannabis?
Yeah, we do them online for the most part. We did a little small tour last year. We were in LA, we were in Austin, we were in Phoenix. But yeah, for the most part, we have a website called breathewithcannabis.com. We do quarterly workshops, and then we have an 8-week program called Limitless. And this is weekly ceremonies, 2.5 hours, wisdom teachings paired with self-inquiry prompts, paired with cannabis connection into the breath work and then integration. And I mean, my phone's blowing up all the time in our Telegram chat of all the people that are in our group. And just, I'm so grateful to be serving this medicine in this way. But everything you mentioned is so true, right? It's a feminine
Mm,
plant. So, when you work with the feminine yin essence, there's a specific way in which we're speaking to it, in which we're
mm,
opening ourselves up to receive her teachings and her wisdom. It's really powerful. And one of my favorite books, shout out to Stephen Gray, it's called Cannabis and Spirituality. it's a great book for anybody that wants to dive deeper
Mm.
into the spiritual essence of that plant, and how you can work with it in your life. But yeah, man, it's really profound and powerful stuff.
Amazing. And just by listening to that download of what you guys are up to online, how can people find that program? Because that program sounds amazing. You guys are teaching the wisdom, and then you're having guided breathwork sessions, and it's all done remotely.
Yeah. Breathewithcannabis.com is where you find all the information. So we have a workshop coming up in May, and then we have at the end of May our next Limitless program starting, and then we're actually doing, it's called Higher Self. It's a 5-day Breathe with Cannabis retreat in the Catskill Mountains in September.
Hmm. Cool.
And man, that's full activation for someone that wants to come in and really shift. It's powerful.
Amazing. Amazing. All right, man. Well, anything else, Chris, coming through that you want to share with the audience? Anything that we did not touch on? I know we talked about sympathetic breathing, parasympathetic breathing, breathe with cannabis, your hero's journey, the pivotal moments in your hero's journey. Anything coming through that you feel you want to share with the audience that we haven't touched on today?
Yeah, let me feel into that. And I'd say that anybody listening to this conversation, I'm sure anybody listening to your podcast and your audience, people have some level of awareness. There's an acceleration of awakening happening, and we're at a pivotal moment. As we've talked about, me and you, Samuel, and just all of your work and what you're sharing. There's an opportunity that's available to us, a choice point, really. And that choice point is present in our everyday lives. And something that really came up in even our interview, that when I was interviewing you, was that choice point of love and fear, right? And when we can choose consciously, intentionally, purposefully every day to choose love, even if that is the hardest choice because it's against our programmed and conditioned, imprinted nature of living, we can truly begin to expand into a life, beyond our wildest imagination, because love is guiding us back to our wholeness, back to our source, back to our power. And that choice is made in every single breath of every single day. When you breathe, when you wake up in the morning, when you feel the essence of being alive on this planet at this time, and what an incredible gift it is. Breathe in that moment, breathe in just for that moment, that gratitude, that love. And from there, your life will begin to mirror that. And when your life begins to mirror that, you'll begin to have these most expansive type of moments, these connected moments with all of the people, and experiencing the opportunities and resources coming your way. And that is the choice right now, because the split is happening, and not to fearmonger, but there is a division, a timeline split. And when we can choose every day to choose love through our breath, through prayer, through invocation, through our speech, through our actions, that is the medicine right there. And that will propel you forward into your soul's destiny.
Oh, I'm gonna let that frequency just linger a little bit right there. Breathe that in. Yeah, and if you're at home and you're listening to this, replay that last bit right there. Listen to that Chris just riffed off the key, the secret to life, and he did it from a place of embodied passion. And so I'm just soaking that in, and yeah, that's the power of love, and choose love, and we are love. And the more we choose love, opportunities will come. But it's not why we do it. It's making us more of who we are. It's the cohesive power of the universe that connects everything together. And that power, that cohesive power, when you continue to choose love, will bring your body into wholeness through the power of breath. Everything you need will be provided for you. And literally from there, as you start connecting deeper to yourself, the more you love yourself, the more you can love other people. Then you'll start forming relationships. There goes inflammation, because inflammation comes from isolation. So the more cohesive we are within ourselves, the more we can connect to each other. And the more we start connecting to each other, the more we start collaborating, as Chris is doing with Breathe with Cannabis. And then more opportunities start coming. You start developing your passion to serve humanity, doing something that you love, and you have more of these aware, expanded moments. And that's the power. And I want to circle it all the way back from there. Yes, choose love. And I love that you said breathe in this moment. Every moment, choose love through the power of the breath. Open up into that moment. And when you're not, it's okay. Have grace. And through the power of one breath, you can reset into a new shift, into a new timeline. As you say, I'm breathing in this moment. I'm loving all that is in this now moment, especially myself, and through that power shifting with every single breath. And if you're at home, I circle back to the initial kind of riff that we had, which is yes, love in every moment, choose love, but also develop a daily breathwork practice every single day. And 15 to 20 minutes, beats and breath on your app store. Check it out. Do a 15, 20-minute breathwork with there. Modern music with solfeggio frequency with Chris's voice guiding you. Do that. And then from there, continue to choose love and expand into your highest timeline for this exciting inflection point in humanity's history. And everyone's going to have to choose. I choose love or I choose fear. And in every now moment, we're shifting timelines through that choice of choosing the power of love. And then we're going to come together as tribe, and we're going to have some fun, and we're going to do all kinds of cool things. And maybe one day we'll all do a breath work together with Mr. Christopher August, living out his purpose, his passion, teaching other people how to breathe. Appreciate you, brother. I see you. Thanks for being on the show, man. How can people find you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, brother. Thank you. Thank you for your words. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your service. Sending you so much love and letting that expand. And yeah, so people can find me first and foremost on my website, christopheraugust.co. On there is, all my stuff, courses. From there, they can access beatsandbreath.com, which is where you can download the app on the App Store, Apple, Google. And then also I have my book. My book is called Master Your Breath, Transform Your Life. I got it right here. Anybody watching on video, Master Your Breath, Transform Your Life. This is basically unlocking the secrets of breath through there. And other than that, I'm on Instagram at Christopher_August. So appreciate you, my brother.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you, man. Appreciate your wisdom. Everybody go find Christopher, give him a follow, and stay tuned. Let's go. All right. I'll see you guys next time on the Spiritual Psychiatrist Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.